the rule that was back then was, do you think that the patient is going to die between here and the hospital? If yes, then you get a medic unit. If no, then you just go.
Was the goal always firefighter paramedic, or what? Yeah, what was the
No,
motivation?
not at all. I had no interest in EMS whatsoever. I still fight with it a little bit, to be honest with you. But no, I wanted to be a firefighter, and that's it. I just wanted to kick down doors, save babies, and that type of stuff.
Goes to show sometimes things that happen, you feel like they're bad.
Yeah.
But now looking back, if I would have gotten hired, I never would have started Minuteman. Never would have.
Right.
We wouldn't even be here today.
No.
I'd probably be on shift right now, scooping up grandma or something.
Yeah.
What's up, guys? Welcome to another episode of the Spiked Out Podcast. As always, we got a sick guest here today. Matt Emrich, thank you for showing up. We appreciate it. Yeah. We're going to talk a little bit about today. You were a structure guy for a while, right?
Yep.
You've worked for Minuteman EMS. So we just meet a lot of people, I think, in structure that are interested in wildland fire. They may not know how to get into it. And we'll go over some of your stories that you got. But yeah, do you have a little bit of a background kind of getting into fire when you were younger in the structure side?
Yeah, so I started in the fire service in 1998. Well, technically it was before that as like an explorer and stuff. But I actually went through Fire Academy in 1998 as volunteer. And it was my dad that inspired me. He was a firefighter and a fire chief. And he let me start going on calls with him when I was very, very young. I think I was 12, 13 or something like that when I started going on calls with him. And back then you were able to get away with a lot more stuff than you can now. I remember the first time I went inside a structure fire. It was a training fire, burning a house down. And it was, hey, come over here. We're going to put this air tank thing on you, and we're going to put a mask on you, and don't worry, we're going to plug everything in. And I just stood there while they basically dressed me and got me all in the SCBA.
They have like an extra small size.
Yeah.
Were you just like super baggy?
I'm obviously huge, but like I was even smaller then. But yeah, then they put me in there, and some wild stuff happened on that, on my very first, it was, like I said, it was a training fire, but yeah, some wild stuff happened, but that kind of got me hooked, and ended up going through the Fire Academy, like I said, when I was about 16 or so, and volunteered for a long time, progressed to being paid professional fireman, and so I believe in whatever 2025 minus 1998 is years into the fire service.
Yeah, it's a good amount
at this point. And yeah, structure has always been kind of my passion. So
hell yeah.
Was Rapid City your first structure fire job?
Nope. I was City of Pacific in Washington.
Okay.
So I moved to Rapid City in 2012.
Nice.
What made that move of all?
Just I wanted to get out of Washington. Was really the big part, and I saw that Rapid City was testing, and so I actually took a couple tests on the drive from Washington to here.
Damn.
And the ultimate goal was actually to see Mount Rushmore, just kind of do a vacation. But then we saw Rapid City was testing also, so I thought, well, may as well give it a shot, and took the test and
see what happens.
Yeah, got the call.
Nice, man.
So moved.
What was the difference in the department sizes from Pacific to Rapid City?
Well, I was with a department in Pierce County. So Pacific is in King County, which is south of Seattle. Well, Pacific is south of Seattle. They're both in King County. That was just a small department. It's now part of a bigger department. Kind of a whole bunch of different cities merged into one big department. But I left there and went down to Pierce County, which like Seattle, King County, Pierce County, Tacoma.
Okay.
And that department was and Pierce County was pretty small. Now it's part of a really big department, just like the other one. But I do believe that Rapid City, well, I don't know, that department might be bigger than Rapid City now, but the department I was with was fairly small
at the time.
When I came here, yeah.
Nice.
So.
And so being in Washington, you were probably pretty familiar with Wildland Fire. Did your fire department have like a Wildland Fire mod or anything?
No, actually. The department that I originally started with, they had a couple guys that would deploy to fires. I don't remember. I think they were taking like a type 1 or something like that. But never really, thought about it much.
No,
I do remember that during it's like the yearly summer carnival type thing that they had in the city park, that they would cover the whole baseball diamond in hay, and then they would lay out there in the middle of the hay with fire shelters and then have them light everything. I remember thinking that was pretty crazy.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of cool. It's a good way to build confidence in that piece of gear that you carry.
I don't know
around.
if it'd fly now though.
Of course not.
But yeah, no, nothing really for Wildland. And then when I went to Pierce County again, we would have little ditch fires and stuff like that. But when I was there, I don't even know if we had even like a type 6 or anything. I know that there was a water tender, but we had one fire that started like in a sawmill or something, then it took off into the trees, and we pulled up and we're like wearing bunker pants and pulling 1 3/4. I remember, I think it was that same fire. With us, it was big fire, big water. So somebody even pulled like a 2.5 was on a 2.
Dang.
Yeah. And then it, we weren't able to catch it because we were trying to drag around 150, 200 feet of 1 3/4.
Dang.
And then it ended up taking off, and then more departments showed up. And I remember there's this one chief from a neighboring department that he showed up, and he had like a tote full of fire shelters with just a belt. And he's like, "You guys got to start wearing these." So we're out there in bunker pants with belt with a fire shelter on it, and it was interesting. But I never really got too much into Wildland until I came to South Dakota, which that's a regular part of being a firefighter here.
Yeah.
I went on, I think, 1 or 2 deployments on a type 1 back home, and we had no business doing that. We had no idea what we were doing. I think when we went on those deployments, I don't even think that we had shelters or anything. We were just a bunch of 19-year-old kids. They threw in a fire engine and said, "Go for it."
And a different time, too, a little bit earlier in the year. Things have drastically changed in the early 2000s since then. But it's crazy to think about.
Do you remember when you tested with Rapid City? I'm always fascinated when people go for a structure job, like how many were going for it versus how many slots there were.
I want to say I was just thinking about this the other day. Where I came from in Washington, like when they'd be testing for career firefighter, you would have hundreds, if not thousands of people show up for, a couple departments would get together and they'd have, say 20 openings or something like that between the departments. You'd have hundreds and hundreds of people. I remember testing here and thinking, holy crap, this is crazy, because there was only like 250 or something like that. And they were hiring 8 in my class. So that's the number that I remember hearing. Whether that was accurate or not, I don't know. But yeah, they're only hiring 8, 250. And I was like, wow, this is like some of the best odds I've ever seen.
Damn.
So
yeah, I tested for rapid fire in 2016 or something. There's 300 for 13 slots, and I didn't get it, of course, and I was super bummed. And then, but just goes to show sometimes things that happen to you, you feel like they're bad.
Yeah.
But now looking back, if I would have gotten hired, I never would have started Minuteman, never would have.
Right.
We wouldn't even be here today.
No.
I'd probably be on shift right now, scooping up grandma or something.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's Saturday, right? So steak and taco day. So you would have that going for you.
When did you become a medic then?
In 2010, I believe, is when I went through medic school. And I went through medic school down in San Jose. And
why down there? Or what was the decision?
It was just basically it was available right now. And it was easier to get into that class than a lot of the classes that I would have in Washington. the ones that we were looking at, like around home, there's so much to get into it as far as like all the references, the amount of documented patient contacts, all this kind of stuff. And I never kept track of any of that stuff. I worked private ambulance in city Seattle for years, and they would every once in a while give us like kind of a stat sheet that said, you know, you've had this many traumas, this many respiratories and stuff, but he always just looked at it and kind of tossed it. But a lot of those places, they wanted documented X amount of patient contacts, and then you had to get recommendations from physicians and all this kind of stuff to be able to go to medic school.
Interesting.
And I needed to go like right away, basically. And down there, it was way easier. It was a horrible class. It's horrible.
There's a few terrible paramedic classes around the country. And was the goal always firefighter paramedic, or was it like you were a structure guy for a while, and then you're like, well, there's a lot of medical calls and maybe not as many structure? Or what? Yeah, what was the
No,
motivation?
not at all. I had no interest in EMS whatsoever. I still fight with it a little bit, to be honest with you. But no, I wanted to be a firefighter, and that's it. I just wanted to kick down doors, save babies, and that type of stuff. But the department that I was with, around 2001 or so, they basically told myself and a couple other guys, we were residents where we actually lived at the fire station. They said that, hey, rules are changing. You have to either get your EMT or you're not going to be here anymore.
Yeah.
And so we kind of got forced into going to EMT school. And I did enjoy it. It was a really good class taught by Tacoma firefighters. I did enjoy it. It did kind of perk my interest in EMS a little bit. But the biggest thing is I found that it opened a lot of doors, especially being a young kid. And you know, I got married to my former wife. I got married to her in 2000, 2001, 2002. That's what it was. But anyway, young family starting up and stuff. You know, it was, I was able to use that EMT to get a job, like working for private ambulance and stuff, and be able to pay the bills.
Yeah.
And then I've had that kind of as a golden ticket ever since, whether it be EMT or paramedic. Like when I left Rapid City, I'd never thought, I thought I was just going to let my paramedic go and that'll be the end of it. And luckily I held on to it because that's really opened a lot of doors, especially like working for Minuteman and just other opportunities that I've come across, you know?
Yeah. And it's such a pain to get that back. Like once it's gone, if you already kind of don't have that motivation or you're on the edge about EMS and you let it go, it's terrible to get back.
Yeah. There's a lot of guys that have, you know, during the summer when stuff starts getting really busy, you know, you start getting the calls of like, hey, you know anybody that, you know, can be on this team or go out as a medic or whatever. And I've called around to people before and been like, hey, so-and-so is looking for somebody, you know, it's good money, it's easy, you know, you're going to go to a cool fire. And people are like, nah, man, I'd love to, but I let my EMT go or I let my medic go. And they're kind of kicking themselves a lot of times for it. So,
yeah.
I'm still thinking about stat sheets that they gave you for like made me think of paramedic baseball card. Like you got the paramedic, you spend 700 traumas and 1,000 medical.
It was totally like that too. Yeah. I wish I still had one, but no, it would say, and there's stuff on there where you're like, oh, I totally didn't go to that. I might have messed up the paperwork or fibbed or something on that one, but yeah, that didn't go to that. I didn't have 4 gunshot wounds in 2 days or something, you know. Don't know how those things got messed up, but it was really cool to see.
How are the streets of Seattle as an EMT?
I was going to say,
it was crazy. It was absolute chaos.
Top-notch calls.
And I guarantee you that it's even worse now, but no, it was crazy. So the shift that I was on, when I was working in Seattle in the city, because, you know, basically we covered, that ambulance company covered all of King County for the most part, which is huge. And when I worked in Seattle City, it was 9 p.m. to 11 a.m. was our shift, Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
Okay.
I can't remember the unit number I worked on, but we were what's called like if I remember right, we're called an all-zone car. So we would take sometimes inter-facility transfers if we happened to be in that area, but mostly we were doing 911. Everything, you're going lights and sirens, literally everything. You know, and you usually don't even know what you're going to A lot of times you just, like, you would get dispatched and it would just say, respond with engine 25. Okay. And then you just go lights the sirens and you figure it out when you get there. You know, with the King County, I'm not sure if you're familiar with the King County Medic One system, but it's kind of like the start to EMS really in the country, I would say. But anyway, there's very few of them in the whole county. So there was a lot of times we would get to a call and it would be like we'd be on a BLS unit, but it would be really ALS. It's like, well, you have to make that decision of, are we going to sit here and wait for a medic unit that's coming from who knows where, or are we just going to load and go? Are we going to meet them somewhere? All that type of stuff. And you also had to balance that with maybe the guys on the engine don't want to sit there and wait forever for a medic unit. So in the interest of keeping everybody happy, let's just take them and, you know, go. We kind of, the rule that was kind of back then was, do you think that the patient is going to die between here and the hospital? If yes, then you get a medic unit. If no, then you just go. And you go priority if you need to, or pink as we called it, because there was code yellow, which is no lights and sirens, code red, which is lights and sirens. Pink was like you just kind of light up a little bit through intersections.
Did
the King County guys have an aura about them? Like, oh shit, there's one of the King County dudes.
To some people, to more of the newer people, I know, especially when I was young. I definitely was like, holy crap, these guys know
a little starstruck.
Everything. Yeah, a little starstruck. You know, that goes away after a while, but it was really cool sometimes watching them. You know, every once in a while they'd let you hop up in the back of the ambulance and watch them do their magic and everything, or literally like look through the back windows and watch. It is kind of funny to think back now on some of the stuff that I thought was just like the craziest, coolest thing to watch. And now it's like, oh shoot, after I, you know, got my medic and everything, that's a Tuesday, you know, like D50 or Narcan or, you know, adenosine or something like that, you know.
Something before would have starstruck you. Now it's just like, I've done that so many times.
I remember one time we showed up to I was on the fire department that I volunteered at while I was working on the ambulance, and we showed up to this guy that was in SVT. We assumed. I mean, he was just tacking along at, you know, 200 or something, and so I was like, oh, I've seen the medics do this before. And I'm like, okay, I need you to bear down like you're on the toilet and blah blah blah. And he converted, and then the medic showed up, and I was like, yeah, man, I had did this, and they're like, you can't do that, man. Like, you realize like that could have been a big deal, and but I thought it was just the coolest thing ever, you know.
You did an intervention, and you got to see the benefit of it right away.
And that definitely was kind of, even though I found out later that I definitely shouldn't have done that because that could have gone bad, but probably not.
But it didn't.
And it was really cool to watch that, and it did kind of fire me up to, you know, think about maybe one day being a paramedic. So.
And learning some of those skills, Paramedic school can be fun because even whether you want to be a paramedic, there's so many like useful skills within those courses that when you get to finally do an intervention and you see it work, it's a little bit intoxicating. Or it's like a dopamine dump almost. It reinforces that.
Yeah,
super
for sure.
Cool.
Yeah, so let's bring it to working for the Rapid City Fire Department.
Sure.
How long did you do that for?
I was there from 2012 to 2022, I believe it was.
Okay. 10 years.
Yeah.
Pros and cons of rapid fire, just because we're locals. I'm always curious.
Sure.
We get so many conflicting stories.
Well, the place was, the camaraderie and everything there was just unbelievable. I had the best crew, absolutely the best crew, and a lot of those guys are still together on the same crew, downtown A shift.
Okay.
And
at that new station that they built now.
Yeah,
that one. Nice.
Yeah. You know, when I worked there, obviously we had the old house, which I miss that place. It was very overdue for a change. There was a lot of problems with that building, you know, with leaks or who knows what, you know, but
lead-based paint.
Yeah, I mean, you name it. There was a lot of carpentry going on behind the scenes and plumbing and all kinds of stuff to make do with the old building.
Yeah.
But Yeah, that camaraderie there was just the best. We had a lot of fun, and we had went through a lot of really legit stuff together. Some pretty major incidents and stuff that you could see how the camaraderie, while we're just there at the firehouse, whether it's playing volleyball or just pulling pranks on each other, sitting around the kitchen table talking crap, how all of that counts to bring everybody together when it actually matters on a scene. All those little things count as far as making it so where you're comfortable with each other, how each other think, each other's strengths and weaknesses. So when you do have some of these major incidents with immediate dangers to somebody's life, you can react and just nail it.
And also know
we
that
nailed it.
Yeah.
Every time.
And then and knowing that those guys have your back the same way you do. I think it's similar in a lot of industries. Well, I mean, maybe not a lot of industries, but military, fire departments, where you're spending a lot of time, you're pulling pranks, you have the shared suffering, so to speak, whatever it is. Yeah, that's good to hear. It was when you were at Rapid, was it you guys had engines and ambulances within the same, and you guys were running? What was the split between fire calls and EMS calls?
Oh, it was right up there. I mean, that what everybody usually says is like 80-20 EMS. Yeah, so I think it was about that. I mean, there's other times where it felt like 99% EMS, but I think it averaged out to right around that standard 80-20 that most places are. Like downtown, we had the battalion, the medic unit, a backup medic unit. There was at times sometimes there was like 3 medic units basically working out of Station 1 at the same time. And then you had a squad and a ladder. And
nice.
And then there's like some reserve engines and stuff like that there. But very busy, very, very busy house. I can't remember the stats for it. I don't even want to say, but I remember it was a very busy house.
Pretty high call volume for the size of Rapid.
Yeah. And the several, I mean, more than 4,000 or 5,000 calls a year at that one house, I believe. I can't remember exactly what it is. I know Medic 1 is in the top. I just heard the chief of the department the other day say something in the top 30 or 50 or something, like the busiest ambulances in the country.
Wow.
So yeah, we got slammed quite often. And I think 12, 15 calls in a shift wasn't anything to surprise anybody.
Yeah.
So
what led to ultimately leaving the department pre-retirement? I know that probably had to be a big decision. A lot of people.
It was a really big decision.
How close were you?
It was a really hard. It's a rule set. I mean, I could go at 45.
Okay.
And like the special early or the early I can't remember exactly how it was.
So it's set at an age.
I never really
time
was concerned about my future.
Yeah. I never cared. Yeah. So it was more of a when you hit a certain age rather than a total time in.
Well, yeah, it's your age plus years of service. Okay. And then once that hits a certain number, that's when you can go with all the benefits and stuff like that. So yeah, it was a really hard decision to make. A lot of it was just I'd been in the fire service for a long time at that point. And, a lot of it was I'd seen a lot over a lot of years, and it was affecting me and my mindset, my passion. I was on the ambulance quite a bit, and being on the ambulance, you just start dealing with the worst of people's worst days all the time. Yeah. And I'd always been kind of a black cloud. There's the difference. White clouds, they're pretty slow. Black clouds bring all the work in the city with them. And I was kind of a black cloud forever at every place that I've worked. And that brings a lot of stuff with it. In 2017, 18, I actually went to the Baltimore area for a 32-day inpatient PTSD rehab program because it got so bad. That place was a very interesting place. There's a lot of things that I had problems with there, but at the end of the day, that place saved my life. But just because you go to a program and then you come back and you feel all better and stuff doesn't mean that all that stuff goes away.
It's a lifelong thing. You have to work at it forever.
And I could just see myself, if I stayed where I was, I could see myself just becoming unhappy more and more. I was really struggling with just, trying to be positive and everything. I just needed to change, and I needed to kind of step back from it a bit. And I wanted to pursue, other stuff. I have I'm not sure if we get into this later, but, I do own a business, doing tree climbing and stuff like that, which has always been kind of a passion and a side gig of mine since I was a teenager. And so started doing some numbers and started doing some jobs on the side while I was working with the city, and realized that, I don't have to rely completely on the city for my income. I could go, do my other passion and make just as much, if not more. So
nice. What do you think? Mental health is obviously a big thing, whether it's fire, EMS. How did you find that kind of PTSD rehab facility? I don't think there's a lot of, it's getting better. There's a lot of resources out there now, but for individuals to reach out or find those things, or like, it can be tough. So I guess, how did you find it, or what was?
So how I found it was, I actually got off work one morning, and we just got pounded all night long. I don't think slept at all. And my routine back in those days, this was also around the time of a divorce and everything. It was a pretty dark
time.
Things, yeah. So my routine around that time was to basically come home from work and have a shower Jameson and hopefully go to bed, but good luck. And I remember I had my Jameson or 3, and then got into a pretty darn dark place that morning. And I remember sitting there, and I was just kind of doing the whole Facebook wormhole and scrolling through, and all of a sudden this thing pops up and it says, are you having these types of issues? Do you feel like you're at the end of the road? Blah, blah, blah. And I was sitting there like, check, and it said, if so, call this number. And I was at that point, that was kind of my, that was,
it's like, fuck it, why not?
Yeah, I've got nothing to lose.
Yeah.
Because, I don't know how bad this dark spot was going to get. And so I called that number, sitting there in my apartment, and then this dude answers, and the way that he talked to me was super cool. He's like, call me brother and stuff like that. And this number was to a facility that caters specifically to firefighters, professional firefighters. And so like, he's calling me brother and all this kind of stuff. And he's like, yeah, sounds like you're in a bad place, man. Sounds like you need to come here. And I had no idea how I would work that with work, with money, with plane tickets. I'm going through a divorce. I've got no money. And so I called up my lieutenant and I said, hey, this is what's going on, and I think I need to go there. And he goes, I think so too. Like immediately on the phone. And he says, all right, give me a couple minutes. I'll call you back. He calls me back, and I don't even know if it was 10 minutes later. And he's like, hey, this has gone all the way up to the top, and you're approved, and you could go, and you're not going to have to worry about, missing work. You're not going to miss a dime of pay. They gave me I had to drain my sick bank, of course. But they let me dip into this other type of sick bank that the city has. Basically a long-term medical type thing. And then my captain, so this was, Josh Lang was my lieutenant, and Brian Pavandra was my captain. I don't know if you know either of those dudes, but they are some of the best dudes you will ever meet in your life. And, they got it all arranged. Captain Pavandra even was like, hey, I'm going to cover your plane tickets, so you can go.
Dang.
And then, within, I don't know, a week or two, I was over there and going through the whole program. So I'm really glad I did.
Yeah.
Like I said, I think it saved my life. There's a lot of people that I know that didn't do that, and they're not with us anymore.
Yeah.
There's one guy that I worked with that he was even plane tickets were bought, and he was on the schedule to go. And before he left, he ended up taking his own life. So, yeah.
It's a tough job out there. And it's good that you found that resource. And like you said, it's not a fix. Yeah, it's a lifelong thing you probably have to live with and learn to deal with and cope in your own way. But that was super cool that your captain and your whole department was able to set that up.
Yeah, I can't. Like I said, I can't thank them enough. And Chief Seals was the chief at the time. He passed away a couple years ago, but yeah, he was very supportive too. And everybody was very supportive. And and it was a different time then. That was still things are a lot better now with mental health, at least in the circles that I run in. Stuff that you didn't talk about before, or you were made fun of before. It's not really like that as much anymore. And the city, the fire department, police department, and county sheriffs have put together peer support programs now, to where when you have problems, it's just a phone call away, and then they'll show up and basically do a triage and see, is this something where he's just having a hard time today, or is this something we could deal with, just kind of sitting here and talking and just needs to get it off his chest, or is this something that we need to escalate into a facility or just more counseling or something. They've really done a lot of stuff. In fact, the South Dakota Fire Chiefs Conference is this weekend in Deadwood, and one of the presenters up there is I can't remember the name of it, but it's Dr. Quackenbush. He puts together this. He has a facility that he treats first responders at. He came here to town a couple months ago and did a presentation on PTSD and first responder mental health and stuff. And I think it's really cool that it's being put right in the forefront of these guys, at the chief level.
Yeah.
So,
dang. Well, a lot of reasons can lead to life-changing events, but like Tyler was saying, it can sometimes turn out to be for the better.
For sure.
So after you left the fire department here in Rapid, what was your kind of next steps, or where were you working on? I know you mentioned a little bit about the tree business there.
Sure.
You focus on that?
So, I was also with, before I left Rapid, I picked up a part-time job at another fire department locally here, and I was still working for them part-time. And I continued to work for them only up until this last May. But the main focus was doing tree stuff. It's a job that it's very hard and very tiring, but it's a lot of fun, and I have an absolute blast doing it and owning the business. I get to make my own schedule and everything. Then 1 year I was out climbing with a buddy. We went and did a bunch of 14ers down in Colorado, and we were climbing the Flatirons, and I got a phone call being like, "Hey, we need an extra for this REMS team. Would you be interested?" And I knew what REMS was and stuff because the city has a REMS team, and it's like, yeah, sure. So went on this deployment and kind of opened up my eyes to the possibilities. I'd done line medic stuff before through Rapid City, but kind of opened my eyes to, well, it's not just firefighting or line medic. There are other things that you could do. And really enjoyed it. It did get a little old being in close quarters with, a handful of guys for a long period of time.
Especially ones you may not know that well.
But we did have a lot of fun. So it got me more interested in it. And then I started thinking of like, well, man, tree work does suck during the heat of summer, like a lot. It's just exhausting. So this is something that I could do to fill in that gap. So I'm not just sitting here cutting trees and just destroying my body.
Kind of break the monotony.
Breaks it up, pays extremely well. And it gives me more time for activities.
Yep. Personal stuff. And
What would you say to any guys out there who are structure firefighters that want to make it work, like not necessarily quit the department and go into Wildland, but sneak in a deployment or two there? I think a lot of them don't know that's possible,
right?
But it definitely is.
Yeah, I can tell you it's a lot easier than you think. Whether you're going out as a medic and EMT, REMS, I can tell you it's way easier. I mean, obviously your admin would need to be on board with it if you're a career firefighter. But a lot of times that's just a matter of talking to them and being like, hey, do you know the possibilities that we have here as far as the department making money, everybody wins. I know Rapid City is paid for, and a lot of departments around here have paid for a lot of their equipment and stuff just off of money brought in from wildland fires.
Oh yeah.
But as far as going out even single resource, it's really easy. There's one guy that I was talking to that he's a professional firefighter in another state, and he asked, what do I need to do? And I said, well, do you have your red card? Well, yeah. You have your EMT? Yeah.
You're there.
You're in.
You made it.
Yeah. And then I explained to him how it's easy. It's as easy as finding, either going to your department and trying to get a program started, or calling up a contractor and being like, hey, I want to get on your roster and stuff. And the only thing I would recommend is going and talking to your bosses at your department first and saying, hey, I want to sign up for this contractor. Here's the thing. I could be gone for, 14, 18 days at a time. How would that work with, time off from here? Whether, there's guys down in, when I was on the fire in Monroe this year, there was a bunch of guys from the Unified Fire Authority, Salt Lake area. And they actually had to take vacation and trades to make it work. So
we hear that one a lot. Yeah, vacation and trades.
Yeah. So there is options out there. And especially if you're on that 24-hour schedule, if you're only working 10 days a month regularly, it's probably not that hard to do some trades or, use some of your vacation bank and make it happen.
Yeah. We got a few guys that work for us that do that. One's from Florida, and with his department, he's able to, I think he had a block of almost 2 months this summer between shift trades and vacation. So he was able to come out, and I don't know what he makes in the department, but he's probably getting close to making what he makes in a year at the department, just coming out for wildland rolls for
a couple months,
2 months.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
And they don't have, there are some people that can't get away from their families for that long, or they don't have enough vacation, or people won't trade. 14 days isn't all. A lot of the times we have to do R&Rs, And so if you can find a company, especially if you live close to where wildland fires are, you could potentially go out and do multiple 2, 3, 4 day where you're just R&Ring some people, get a taste for it, see if you like it before you commit a full 2 weeks or 21 days.
Yeah.
So if I were a structure firefighter and I were interested in that, I would enable to maximize your opportunity to get out there on a wildland roll, to plug our own product. I would hop on the Journeyman, create a profile, and then get aligned with as many companies as you can. That way you have as many opportunities for a business owner to pick up the phone and say, hey, I need a medic. And again, we were just talking about a guy from Florida. So where you live doesn't super matter. You can I would just get aligned with as many companies as you can, and then set a block of days that, hey, I'm going out potentially from these days to these days. That way you're not eating up your vacation days waiting for a fire call.
Right, for sure.
There's a little bit of planning with that too. I think every year we get questions from people who have, whether they're in fire departments or other EMS agencies, they're like, well, I'm going to take 2 months off. I'm going to do it in June and July. That might work depending on what you're going and doing, but for us, like EMS contractors, we're not getting out there till later June.
Well, I was going to say, July, if you would have done that this year, you'd be kind of screwed.
You'd be screwed. So there is some finicky things. Look, it's not always going to be perfect.
August and September are your safest months, I would say.
Yep. August and September. Mid-August to mid-September would probably be the safest bet.
Yeah.
Obviously, if we get into June and July and things are already on fire and big, you'll probably be okay. But just be mindful of when you take those days off. But like you said, even if you don't know or you wait to take those days off, just getting as aligned with as many companies as possible is beneficial.
Right. And just clearly communicate with those companies that, hey, I might be taking a call with someone else, and put your availability toggle on the Journeyman to available. And then when you get a call, turn it off. So people like us know that, okay, you're not available.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. And I think, like you said, picking up those crew swaps or the R&Rs or something like that, if you're not sure, like I've never been a big wildland guy. Obviously, just around here, people grow up, as their volunteer and then the paid and everything. Like wildland's just a regular thing, and it wasn't, at least when I was coming up.
And that's you were in Washington, right? Which
yeah, but I was in like a metro area, like I said, we had ditch fires, and the beauty bar out in front of the McDonald's is on fire because some bum threw a cigarette in it. That was the majority of us. So we would have some stuff out in the woods. I guess not the whole time it was metro area. Sometimes it was more kind of out in the county, but we just didn't really have a ton. 4th of July, sure, but other than that, it wasn't like here where it's during the summer it's every day, several times a day.
Yeah.
But I was never really into wildland, and again, EMS, it's something I do. It's not like my big passion by any stretch, but going out as a line medic and having that freedom to, for one, not get stuck with having to work with the crew the whole time and try to figure out, all right, when are we going to eat lunch? When are we going to drive here? When are we going to do that? Hey, I got to go to the bathroom. Hey, I got to do that. That type of stuff. Having the freedom there is super nice. But at the same time, if you want to, like if you get into REMS and stuff like that, if you wanted to, you could be part of a crew and nerd out on rescue stuff all day long, PT together, make fun of each other all day long, hate each other for a little bit here and there, come back together, all that kind of stuff. But you could always go out for those little ones and then find out if you do enjoy it or not before you actually take the leap.
Yeah. For those of you who don't know, he's talking about the little ones or R&Rs. Companies have to give their crews 2 days off every 14 days or 21 days. So if you were a structure fire guy, you could just go out and fill that hole for 2 days. Or if that was on an ambulance, it could be 4 days. We send people out to go. If you're a medic, you could relieve the medic for 2 days, then relieve the EMT for 2 days. You just got 4 days of work, and then you're back home.
And not to mention, most companies have multiple assets and resources, and often when we get calls from dispatch, they're in like tight date ranges, which means when you hit your 14 and 21, we have like 3 or 4 resources at a time needing R&R. So you might bounce from one fire to, do 4 days at Oregon and then travel a couple days up to Washington and do another 4 days there. There's a lot of flexibility, just again, so long as you communicate that.